Welcome back for some more Starfield. We are 2 months into 2024 and we haven't had a major release yet. Is Starfield in trouble? Will the game continue to be developed for years to come, like Todd Howard said? At the moment, it's not looking that way. We still haven't heard any news about the release of the brand new DLC, which will be Shattered Space. And that's breaking away from the team's usual update schedule of around about 6 months after the first release of one of their major titles. They will then release some sort of DLC. At the moment, we have no news at all for that DLC. And the updates continue to be relatively small. There was one big one recently, which has added FSR 3, which has been absolutely phenomenal. I myself have an AMD system, and it's really improved the performance of my game, and it looks a hell of a lot prettier. Now, despite the update adding a hell of a load of performance fixes, it didn't add too much for consoles, which a lot of the Xbox community are a little bit stressed about, judging by some of the comments on Twitter, or X, depending on what you call it these days. And there's also comments stating that the game has not really seen any major developments in the few months that it has been out, and I completely agree with that. There hasn't been many developments at all, which is a massive shame. The Steam charts are also looking incredibly bad. Now, every time I bring this up, I do have people saying to me that yes, it's a single player game, Steam charts are going to go down, average players is going to go down, and yeah, you're right, average players will go down, especially because it is single player, but even the updates are not big enough to bring any new players in or return old players. The FSR 3 update has brought a little bit more back, but there's still an average loss of players, losing around about 30% every single month. With today's all-time peak coming in at 6,883 to be exact, which is bad. So Starfield could drop below the 5,000 24-hour peak mark. Now yes, these are just numbers for Steam, and as people say, it's a single-player game, it will drop, but it hasn't dropped to the likes of other Bethesda titles. Even Skyrim is still sitting at 20,000 average, and Fallout 4 is sitting at just under 15,000 for average. And then even older titles like Fallout, which is sitting at just 3,600 on average. But that's only 3,000 less than Starfield. And for a game that's nearly 15 years old. So that does say quite a bit about Starfield's player base at the moment. Now, in the back end of 2023, the team did release a little bit of a devlog, and in there did mention that the game will be receiving major updates going forward from February on a 6-week update schedule. But we did see the first update of February on the 7th. We haven't had any news yet. We could see something big towards the middle of March, but I highly doubt that. They did say that they will be adding many things, such as new ways to traverse the planets, new city maps, which will include loads of funky stuff, and loads of other new bits. Now, Shattered Space will include loads of new items. Judging by previous releases and what people think, it seems to be they're going to be adding a whole host of new armor, new weapons, and we could hopefully see a decent lengthy quest line as well. But we still have no news at all on that, and no news on whether these big updates will be coming. And the updates have also been relatively small, even since the game's release back in September. The updates don't include too much massive, but luckily they do include a lot of bug fixes, which is great. Getting bugs fixed is definitely important, but it would be nice to see, or at least hear, about what new content could potentially be added, or at least a glimpse into what Shattered Space would look like. Another downside is the Creation Hub is still not available for Starfield, despite them stating that we would get to see it early 2024. But I know it is still relatively early in 2024, but we are about to go into the 3rd month. But that also begs the question, with such small player numbers, will modders actually take the time to create things? Sure, there'll be a few key modders that are going to create loads of awesome bits and bobs, regardless of how many players are playing, because that's just what they enjoy doing. But there are a few people that would like to make it and then see other people enjoy it as well. So those people may not actually make anything. There was an article back at the start of December of 2024 saying that a lot of modders had already given up due to the game's dwindling player count. So if the Creation Hub does come too late, then that's not going to be the greatest. Especially if we're not getting any news whatsoever about Shattered Space. I think as soon as Shattered Space drops, we will see a hell of a big increase in players. Because the game is loads of fun. It's brilliant. There is loads of stuff you can do, but it doesn't hold a torch to those previous Bethesda titles, such as Fallout and Skyrim. where everything just feels endless and you can go and explore new things for hours and hours on end. Hopefully, Shattered Space brings something along those lines, a new planet that is open, that is vast, that we can explore and enjoy, rather than just little POIs dotted around many, many, many planets. As many articles have said, when it does come to exploration, it doesn't hold up to previous titles. It is 1,000 miles wide, but only 1 inch deep. Now, don't get me wrong, the places that you can explore and the major cities that you can go to are beautiful, extremely well detailed, and loads of fun to explore. But there's just not that many of them. And I think having such a vast amount of planets, rather than, say, 10 to 15 planets with more intricate details on them, was a massive mistake for longevity. Now, I know this has been a little bit more of a negative video, but we will be back with something more positive relatively soon. We're going to check out the final devlog for Fallout London. I have covered a few bits of Fallout London here on the channel, and I really appreciate the support for that. So, for today though, we are going to wrap that one up there. Drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and stick around for much more Starfield and Bethesda content.